We are in a beautiful city called Bukhara, and today I wanted to show you how beautiful it is. It's absolutely stunning and gorgeous, and it has so many cool patterns and details and interesting architecture. So we'll take a walk around the city center, around the historical part, and I'll show you all the interesting things. The man was playing some kind of national instrument, and Agatha even liked it. Also, guys, look at these wooden doors. These tiny wooden doors are everywhere in Bukhara, and just look at these details, guys. They're very detailed. So the first building that we saw was Madrasa Nadir Divan Begi, built in 17th century. I'm sorry if I pronounced something wrong, these names are complicated. So it was next to our hotel, and it was the first one on our way. At first it was a caravanserai, which means a roadside inn where travelers, caravanners back in the day, could rest from the day's journey, and it was a hotel basically for them. Bukhara was part of the Great Silk Road, so there were a lot of caravanners coming to sell and buy things, and there are buildings like that all around the city. Later it was changed into a madrasa, which is a religious school, college or seminary for studying Islam and usually some other subjects. But at the moment, as you saw, there are mostly souvenir shops, and it doesn't work as madrasa anymore. Next to the building there is a Nasreddin Hoja monument. He was a satirist and philosopher back in 13th century, and he's said to have lived and been born in Bukhara, but back in the days it was Turkish territory, as I know, so he's a very famous person here. Madrasa building and the monument and a couple of other beautiful buildings are located at the central square with an ancient pool, which is now just a pond with docks and some decorations. And this place altogether is called Labi House. So this is like one of the central spots in the city. On the opposite side of the pool from the madrasa, there is located a Khanaka Nadir Divan Begi. Khanaka means something like a monastery where Islam monks used to live and work. At the moment there is a tiny museum of, I think, ceramics inside, and the funny thing is that the price isn't fixed as I got it, because they told us one price first and then half smaller price when we decided that we won't go inside. But it was not really interesting inside anyway, because the museum is very, very small. Unfortunately, it's cloudy today. The first day we came here it was sunny, and it looked absolutely different. Today it's kind of gray, but it's still very beautiful. Almost everywhere people sell souvenirs and some handmade things, but in some spots there are several sellers together. Closer to some other sites, there is a souvenir market with a lot of sellers in trade domes of Bukhara. I'll show you them a little bit in this video, but I'll make a separate video about the market itself. This is not a popular place because it is not renovated much and it's quite small, but it was on our way, so I decided to show it to you anyway. It is Magoki Atori Mosque, and you can see how old it is. It was built in 9th to 10th century, like that's incredible, and it's several meters lower than the ground level because of how old it is.
Хорошо. Это музей ковров.
Музей ковров?
Да.
We are going to find two main most popular buildings here, sightseeing places, and I think I'll film. Держи, Агату. I think I'll film all the goods that people sell here. There is like a street market for tourists with all the crafts that people make here, and these things are just, I just want to buy everything, guys. Like, they're so beautiful, so like such talented people make these things. All the wood carvings, carpets, embroideries, plates, beautiful plates. Like, I think I'll make a separate video from this market because there are a lot of things to show. And now we're going to see two main buildings. Unfortunately, I don't know what that was, but probably it's some part of the important Asian building. Stars like that with 8 points are everywhere here, and also 6-pointed stars are everywhere too. Только не дергай, хорошо. There were teenage girls walking next to us, and they had like crafted flowers. And tomorrow is International Women's Day, and it's usually hugely celebrated in Russia and countries that used to be parts of Soviet Union. So I think people here celebrate it too, and they gifted us this crafted flower, and it's very cute. This building is called Trade Domes of Bukhara. There is the main market with local crafts and souvenirs, and it has been a market since 16th century. Interesting and a little bit sad thing is that many of these places that I'm talking about don't even have Wikipedia articles in English. These two buildings in front of each other are Abdulaziz Khan Madrasa, built in 17th century, and Ulugh Beg Madrasa, built in 15th century. Abdulaziz Khan Madrasa is one of the most decorated ones. You can see all the patterns and details. It's a very beautiful one. It also have souvenir shops mostly inside at the moment, and it doesn't work as madrasa anymore. It started raining a little bit. Not the best weather today to walk. And Ulugh Beg Madrasa was built by Sultan and astronomer Ulugh Beg. He was a grandson of famous Timur, and you'll probably hear these two names a couple more times in my videos from Uzbekistan because there are a lot of places related to these two people. And it also doesn't work as madrasa anymore, and I think there is a museum or souvenir shops too. Also, guys, I have finally made a Patreon account. I didn't want to have it at first. I think some of you might remember that. But I decided that since I don't do any sponsored ads on my channel, like I don't do any sponsorship collaborations, maybe some of you have noticed that, I decided that Patreon would help a lot for me to create and just for our family. So the link will be in the description box, and I plan to post there one video a month, like a day in the life video or a vlog, something like that. So if you want, you can join my Patreon account. So let's go next. So now we are going to see two most popular sites here in Bukhara, and these details on random buildings look so interesting. So here you can see the Kalyan minaret. Minaret is the type of a tower typically built into or near mosques, and they are generally used for the Muslims' call to prayer. This one was built in 12th century, and it's the biggest building in Bukhara, so it was also used as a watchtower for a long time. It's beautifully decorated and it's very high and old. It's one of the most popular tourist places here. Next to the minaret there is Madrasa Miri Arab. It's a huge one and it was built in 16th century and it still works as madrasa. I think my husband went inside this shop. As always, I always lose him and then I find him in some shops talking to people. So probably he's here. As I said, there are some national costumes, very decorated ones, and you can take photos and also you can probably buy some of them. The seller showed my husband a model of Bukhara city and told a short story about it, but at the end she asked to pay not a lot, about $1 for that, but it was like 1 minute talk. So it's funny. So we are going inside that madrasa that I've showed you before, and there actually was a sign not to film or take photos, but I haven't seen it when I walked inside, and I was filming and nobody said anything, and I hope I didn't bother anybody too much. But it was very, very authentic inside. People are studying there. They were playing ping pong. So next in that square of buildings there is a Poi Kalan Mosque, and with the complex with minaret and madrasa, it's one of the largest mosques in Central Asia. It was also built in 12th century as the minaret, but the original mosque was destroyed 100 years later and then rebuilt only in 16th century. Some part of the building works nowadays too as a mosque. People come and pray here, and there are very beautiful arcs all around the building, and just the building itself is very big. The only small part of it works, but it's very peaceful inside and just beautiful. Я тоже не помню, что хотела сказать. Не надо вот так. Тебя сейчас еще 500 сумок. So this giant construction that you see is our next step. My husband is trying to buy some bread for Agatha because she's hungry. Agatha is a fan of local bread. She... Дай покажи. It's very beautiful. She eats it even when it's like dry. And now it's fresh and she just loves it. So this is called the Ark of Bukhara, and this is a massive and very old fortress. This fortress was built around the 5th century before Christ, so it's definitely the oldest building here in Bukhara. Ну да, выглядит, как будто это была тюрьма. Ага, спасибо. Да, пахнет сюда.
Нет?
С этой стороны ничего не
Да.
Да, я покажу. Там барашки. We decided not to pay for the guide, but I think it was worth it because we know nothing about this place. But I'll check information on the internet for you guys. It's still beautiful. Like, we're just walking. Идем? Там много каких-то украшений продают. The ark was built on the remains on earlier structures, which makes a 20 meters high layer. That's why it looks so massive from the side. You can see the layers on the sides of the ark indicating these previous fortresses that have been built and destroyed. The ark was used as a fortress up to 20th century, but it was greatly damaged by Russian Red Army during the war in 1920 because it was bombed by aircraft, and since then it became a tourist place with museums covering its history and history of Bukhara region in general. And in the past there used to live emirs, their chef viziers, military leaders and their servants, so that's why they have a coronation hall there and stables and a lot of other places. We refused to pay for the guide at the entrance, but then there was a local guy inside this place who came to us and asked if we need a guide for half of the price that they asked at the entrance, and things like that always happen. Like here, it's just so funny. Also, people like talking, and my husband loves talking, and very often people start to tell you something about the city, or they ask if you want to have a walk with them around, just for a couple minutes, and then they ask you money for that. And they always get my husband on that. I think he paid twice for the past 2 days because he loves talking to people, and he started talking to everybody, and people just oh, let me show you this building. And he was like, okay, show me. And then they asked him to pay. So that's kind of funny too. I don't talk to anybody, so I don't have situations like that. Museums about history of Bukhara region and about the history of fortress have been interesting, but I decided not to show them much to you because I think it's boring to look at museums on camera. So they're just a couple shots from the museum, but there were a lot of them. I think about 5 or 6 museums even. That's so funny, but we found samovar from Tula, Russia. Tula is my hometown. Samovars from Tula are very famous, and they have been very popular for many years in many countries, but I didn't think we will find something like that here. I'm in love.
Да, только ничего не трогай, пожалуйста.
On the opposite side of Citadel of Arc, across the road, there is a Bolo House mosque located. It has a pool that is a pond now and a minaret also. The minaret is not very high, but it's beautifully decorated. And the building itself has a very interesting architecture and decor, and it was built in 18th century, but it still works fully as a mosque at the moment. I don't know if I ever told you guys, but my granddad was from Uzbekistan, so I feel kind of related here, although he moved to Russia when he was very young. I think he was about 2 years old, and we don't have a connection with any of our relatives here, so I don't know anybody. I don't have any contacts or anything like that, but anyway, like, I feel a little bit related. So we found new cool place. There are kids playing very loudly. So the next building that we visited is called Chor Minor. It's a historic gatehouse for a now destroyed madrasa, and it's located quite far from the other sites in the living area. Also, you can see storks on the top of the building. Storks are the symbol of Bukhara, so you can see them on different buildings. And Chor Minor is translated as 4 minarets. The architectures of this building is very not usual for the period of time when it was built, and at the moment I think it doesn't work, or maybe there is a museum inside, but it was closed when we came. All the doors have been closed, and some people have been writing on the internet that it's possible to get on the 2nd or 3rd floor quite high when somebody is working there, so we were not that lucky. But there are parts of the rest of the building all around, so you can see how big it was. We found a hidden souvenir shop in the absolutely unexpected place, and we're not sure if it's working and if we can come inside. Винтаж? Стой, ничего не трогай только.
Ничего не трогай, смотри.
Я не знаю, сюда вообще можно заходить?
Не знаю.
Надо спросить у
Можешь
кого-нибудь.
сказать здравствуйте. Угу. Спят, да. А, киса там.
Ладно, пойдем.
Мама, папа. Мама, папа, нет.
We are looking for another popular place, but it's raining and it's quite far, and we need to go through like living area with just regular little houses. So it's quite interesting here, but not very beautiful, I would say. We also found a random place. I don't know if we can come inside. Well, there was a building, a beautiful building, but in a very bad condition. And there was a man who owns probably this place. There are some different things laying around, the old things. He welcomed us inside. He didn't speak Russian or English, but he was insisting that we should come and see what he's making there. And honestly guys, I was worrying if it's safe to be there because the building looked like it would fall apart any minute. But it was interesting that this man is trying to do something creative just by himself. He's trying to make something out of this building. He's calling this a museum, and he's picking different interesting pieces from different places as I got it, and he's just laying them around. He also asked us a little bit of money after we looked around. And the last place that we visited was a Samanid Mausoleum that was built in the 10th century. It's located in the Central Park here in Bukhara, and it was built as a resting place of the powerful and influential Islamic Samanid dynasty that ruled the Samanid Empire at that time. And it's very small. It took us only 5 minutes to walk around it, but you can see the details there are very interesting. Everything is made from the same materials, and it doesn't have any like colorful patterns or anything like that, but it's still very beautiful. And I'm not sure if it's illegal or not, but my husband decided to climb down window there to show you how it looks inside, because we could not see it from the ground at all. The window was quite high and it had only small holes in it to see. And the local park here looks very similar to Russian parks, honestly. We're kind of tired of walking around. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you liked this video. Unfortunately, it's not that sunny as usually, but I think it's still very beautiful and interesting. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.